Every story, some glory.
Stay in tune as the day greets new bloom. Good morning headlines with Skyjack Morgan. Start your day just fine. Information for you, darling. Coffee in your cup. News to fill you right up.
Man, I'm ready. You need to know. Hot coffee in my cup. Jack Morgan. Information for you, darling. Hey, welcome. So glad that you're here this morning. Do you like the new song? I like the new song. I will keep you well supplied. Man, Jack Morgan. I'm loving it. Information for you, darling. Hey, I don't know if you heard, but you're awesome. You are a wonderful person. You know why? Because you wake up with me and you have a cup of Carney tears and have a good time. It's a beautiful morning here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I looked out the window, saw the beautiful mountains. I'm surrounded by mountains. It really is a stark contrast from being Nebraska. I was in Nebraska. I was in all over America, and just the plains. Out in the Dakotas, out in the Black Hills of South Dakota, lived a young boy named Rocky Raccoon. And like when I was in the Dakotas, it's flat. And when you go to Black Hills, they're like, "This is the mountains." I'm going, "This ain't the mountains. This is the highest peak of the." Outside of I'm like, these are small hills. You might call them mountains, but these are not mountains. Now I'm in Colorado. These are mountains, baby. That's what I mean when I want to talk about mountains. I'm talking about Colorado, Rocky Mountain High, baby. And I'm just trying to get my Rocky Mountain High out here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. It's gorgeous, man. I can't wait to explore today. I'm going to go out, try to get some postcards. If you're a postcard member, thank you so much. The Patreon Postcard Club is still going strong. You could still get a postcard if you'd like. Go to patreon.com/vegan. Of course, get yourself a membership and send me a message with your address, and you will get a postcard from Colorado Springs, Colorado. I'm really excited about it. If you want your Rocky Mountain High, you're going to have to visit a dispensary. That's probably true. I all the times I've been to Colorado, I've never partaken in that wacky tobacco of Colorado. It's funny, never have. Just has never been something on my mind. They've got great beer in Colorado though too. They're kind of known for it in Denver. And Durango's got some good breweries. Boulder, of course. They're kind of known for beer as well, and so I've been a big fan. Been a big fan of Colorado beers over the years, but never really did much in the dispensary stuff. It's never really been my thing. Is it your thing? I don't judge. I say I don't endorse anybody, but you can get by however you want. Get high with a little help from your friends. going all whole foods recently, feeling great. Johnny Vegan Seed, that does sound great. All whole foods, plant-based diet. I mean, it's hard to beat, it's hard to beat having a whole foods plant-based diet. And I'm happy for you. I'm glad for you. I think that you're amazing. Good job. Hats off to you, pal. Um, I wanted to just jump right into the news. I don't know if you heard, but there's a bunch of people talking about giving higher child tax credits, and it's interesting because the good old Kamala and them, they want to give tax credits. Kamala and your friend JD Vance, they both want to give tax credits for kids, but where Kamala thinks that there should be, Harris thinks that we should have the ability to send our kids to like preschool and daycare and that kind of thing, early start stuff like that for kids. But JD, he doesn't like that idea. He thinks that women should be at home and working on the raising the family. He thinks that one income families is the way it should be. And I'm like, what do you mean one income families? My mom wasn't even able to do that. I mean, when I was a kid, both my parents worked. What are you talking about? I don't know where these creepy people think that there are one income families where the mom is staying at home raising the child. I just can't believe there's that much of that left. And if you're one of those families, I'd love to know about it and know how the hell you guys made ends meet, because it's like 20% of your income goes to raising children. They're saying that it should only be about 7%. 7% still seems really high, man. It's hard to believe that that's even like 7%. If I took 7% of my income and just threw it at, I don't know, whatever, like what do you have to give up? I used to work with a guy that said that every time he looks at his child's face, he's like, I should have named you Trip to Europe. I always wanted to go to Europe, and now I'll never go because instead I had you, kid. All the sacrifices that parents have to go through just to have children. Anyway, child tax credits. They're saying it could be up to like $3,000 a year, maybe even $6,000 a year in tax credits, meaning only that if you make enough money, if you pay up to $6,000 in taxes, you might get that money back at the end of the year. But you still have to make it. This tax credit thing is so funny to me. It's like you still have to make that money. So if you're making $20,000 a year and $5,000 of your money goes to taxes, you still might get that $5,000 back. You're still poor. You're still poor and in debt because you couldn't pay for your kids. In other countries, they just cut you a check. They're like, thanks for having kids, because without children, we don't have a tax base. We can't pay for things like Social Security. If you don't have kids, we're screwed. The world must be peopled. It must have people on it, or else this whole sham, all this stuff we build, it crumbles. It goes away. The countries fall. There are no more empires. The world circles the drain very quickly if there are no kids. So they want you to have kids. So they should cut you a check. Have a kid, have some money. I can't afford a backpack. When I was in Black Hills, they had a thing where they were giving Indians, Native Americans, backpacks because they can't afford backpacks for their kids. Like, you should be able to afford, I don't care what you're doing for a living, you should be able to afford a backpack for your kid. I don't think that that is a wild expectation of living in America. You know what? In Europe, when I lived in Germany, they had a thing where you got enough money so that your kids can all have the same rich kid backpack, so that you're all so that at least the kids all look like the same level. So they're not having to deal with socioeconomic challenges at school where kids are making fun of them because they don't have enough money for a cool backpack. God damn. When I was a kid, you used to get jumped for your backpack. Like they, if you, this is no joke, in LA where I was growing up, if you saw kids looking at your backpack, you ran because kids were always trying to steal your backpack. They beat you up and steal your backpack. That's what it was like when I went to school because backpacks short supply, man. Not everyone had money for backpacks. And if your backpack was a cool color, they wanted it. So I had a dark navy backpack, and kids wanted it. So like older kids, And so I ran. If somebody was like on the same bus as me, I eyeballed my backpack. I bolt. And my friend, he had like a bright, like I want to say turquoise greenish kind of backpack, and all the gangster kids didn't think that that was cool, so he never got jumped for his backpack. But I'm saying if everyone had enough money for their backpacks, it should be okay. We should be all right. But this idea that we're gonna having a family is expensive. What Harris and Trump have said about easing costs. You know what Trump has said about it? Nothing. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give two shits about your kids, man. You know why? Because he's rich, bitch. He's got plenty of money. He doesn't care. He doesn't realize that it's hard to raise kids. He barely got to see his damn kids. Two tickets have one main commonality. Both the presidential candidates and their running mates have at one point or another bagged an expanded child tax credit. Again, with the tax credit, we need checks. We need money, not tax credits. But anyway, Vice President Kamala Harris, who accepted the blah, 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 she sought to pour billions in taxpayer dollars into making childcare and home care for elderly and disabled adults more affordable. This is really important. Childcare and elderly care. Trump and Vance only want elderly care because because Trump's very old. He understands that elderly care is important, but child care, he's not worried about child care. In a speech earlier this month, she said her vision included raising the child tax credit, more money in your pocket, supposedly. Former President Donald Trump has declined to answer questions about how he would make child care more affordable. He won't answer. Yeah, I want to make a kid. If you want kids, it's your problem. Even though it was an issue he tackled during his own administration, his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, has a long history of pushing policies that would encourage Americans to have families, floating ideas like giving parents extra votes for their children. Ding dong. Just this month, Vance said he wants to raise the child tax credit to $5,000, but Vance has opposed government spending on child care, arguing that many children benefit from having one parent at home as a caretaker. There you go. There you go, man. Just stay home. Doesn't $5,000 in tax credits allow you to have one parent spend all day at home taking care of the kids? Isn't that what happens? Makes perfect sense. Give condoms preventative childcare. The point is they have to have. Did you miss the beginning? You have to have kids in order for it all to work. In order for all this stuff to work, you need to have kids. You need to have kids to buy jeans and backpacks and automobiles, and also just to pay into Social Security so that when you're old, you're not on your own in the street eating dog food left over from the other dogs. You're fighting the feral dogs that have because spade and neutering laws never happened. So you're just fighting with the feral dogs in the street, the strays, man. You're just trying to get yourself a little morsel of dog food because you have no more money, because there's nothing left, because no one had any kids and their Social Security is gone. That's you. That's you struggling to eat dog food. The candidates' care agendas could figure prominently into their appeal to suburban women in swing states, coveted demographics seen as a key to victory in November. Women provide 2/3 of unpaid care work, valued at $1 trillion annually, and are disproportionately impacted when families can't find affordable care for their children or aging parents. There you go. Women are taking care of the old people. Women are taking care of the young people. Women got the short end of the stick. JD Vance says, good. That's where they belong. Kamala Harris says maybe we should find some money for this, and you will just give people money so that they can provide care, either pay for care or take the check and help their old people, help their children. Makes perfect sense to me. What do you think? I would love to know. I'd love to know. This month at a community college, North Carolina, Harris outlined her campaign's economic agenda, which includes raising the child tax credit to as much as $3,600, giving families of newborns more than $6,000 for their first year. Because when you're a newborn, you cost more. You got to get shot. You got to get the stupid chair that goes in the chair in the car. Like you got to buy that. What's it called? A car seat. I think it's called a car seat. You got to buy a special seat so that it fits with your car so you can put the baby in the car. I hear they're expensive. Um, everything costs more when you're little. So you need more. Makes perfect sense. Adopt, don't shop. Is that what you think? Either way, kids still gotta have money, don't they? They still cost money, Vegan Power Lab. Mm, They still cost lots of money. That's all it is. You were on the wrong channel. Sorry, Benji. I mean, having children is extremely expensive. The tax credit is nice for new parents. The problem that I see with the tax credit is that a tax credit, you still have to make that money. So tax credit's like a rebate, right? Like you you pay for your taxes, and at the end of the year they give it back to you because you get a tax credit. That's still like you still have to make enough money in order for that to work. If you're poor, a 6,000, it's not like they just give you $6,000. You're still poor and getting deeper into debt when you have children. And I think that that is wrong. And I think that's also why a lot of kids are up for abortion and adoption. Abortion and adoption happens because, well, for a lot of reasons, but one of the major reasons is because people can't afford to have kids. It's not the right time. I'm broke AF and I can't have a kid. I think I think that's what most people think. Well, that and then the fact that the world is burning. The world is burning, and I can't afford to live here anyway. What do you think? Yeah, Miser says tax credit is a sham. Well, yeah, I mean, kinda. It kinda is a sham, isn't it? I don't know. It's kind of sounds like a sham to me. There's a way to do this where I think that you could put a marker. Oh, marker. I got it. Okay. You could put a marker in, and I don't know how to do that yet, but I'm going to work on it. Look, I think it's a sham. So yeah, I think it's bullshit. Is it corrupt? Well, they don't want to raise taxes in order to give you the money. So they don't want to like in order to just say I'm going to give $1 trillion away or whatever it is. I'm going to give away $5 billion. They got to find that money someplace. And raising taxes is unpopular in America. Always has been. So in order to get money into the pockets of children, you need to be able to you can't just materialize it, so they do tax credits instead. That's why. I wish America had more socialism. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice? But you know what we do have? You know what we you know what we have in America? Something that I have been really I couldn't believe it. I was just in Nebraska 2 days ago, and there's this thing called corn sweat. Have you ever heard of it? Sweaty corn. It's a big deal. Maybe you've never heard of it, but I'll let you know what's going on here. Corn, as the temperature goes up, takes water from the earth and cools itself down in order to stay alive during the hot months of July and also August. Soy does the same thing. It takes the moisture from the earth and it cools itself down and then turns it into vapor, which makes it hella humid. And we're growing more and more corn in America because global warming allows us to. It used to be up north, you really couldn't grow too much corn, which is why in Canada rye whiskey is more popular than something closer to corn mash or like bourbon. You have rye whiskey because you can't grow corn up there, but now you can, thanks to global warming. But that means more and more corn means more and more humidity. 40% of the corn is going to ethanol. We put it in our cars. Why? because gasoline is bad for the environment and our cars can still run on 10% ethanol. 10% gives you a higher octane and helps reduce engine knock. It makes your engine a little quieter, makes it more fuel efficient, and also it burns cleaner, so you have less just crap in the atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? So we put ethanol. Ethanol generally does come from corn, though ethanol can come from anything. You drink it, it's in your beer, it comes from whatever. It's fermentation, okay? Anyway, so we're growing more corn for ethanol because we want cleaner fuel. So 40% of our corn in America goes to that. About 40% of it goes to feed for animals. All the animals who are alive in America today, most of them eat corn. Almost all of them are eating corn. We love feeding animals corn. Yeah, it kills them, we know, but they're not supposed to live long anyway. We're going to slit their throats. So we give them all the corn we can to fatten them up. So then, and also, you could lump in soy on this too, but soy is a little bit different. Corn is the big issue on this one. So then only about 10% actually is something that humans will eat, and the other 10% is going to like make plastics and paper products and things like that. We actually eat a very small percentage. When you're out there seeing all that corn out in the American prairie, you can just wonder, well, 40%, almost half of this is going to feed animals, and almost half of this is going to ethanol production. This is out of this world. There's clearly a problem. And you know what the problem is for you, me, and anyone living in America is the heat wave right now. It's so humid in the middle of this country that people are dropping over dead. It's hot and humid because of the corn. I keep on saying that, uh, things about this global warming thing, we're going to have surprises all around us. And this is one of those situations where I can't even believe I can't. I didn't think that corn was going to make humidity and a humidity epidemic. Look at this beautiful corn. I love corn, don't you? All right. Hallmark of Midwestern summer might be growing stickier thanks to climate change and the steady march of industrial agriculture. Climate change is driving warmer temperatures and warmer nights and allowing the atmosphere to hold more moisture. It's also changed growing conditions, allowing farmers to plant corn further north and increasing the total amount of corn in the United States. You thought we were going to grow less corn? No, man, we're growing more corn. We're growing more. You guys keep on eating those Chick-fil-A's and McDonald's hamburgers. We're gonna grow more corn for you, because you gotta, if you're gonna keep eating animals, we're gonna keep growing corn. That's just how it is. You're gonna keep driving more cars, we're gonna keep making more corn. This is especially noticeable in the Midwest because so much corn is grown there and it all reaches the stage of evapotranspiration. That's a fun word, isn't it? Evapotranspiration. And around the same time, so you get that real surge there and it's noticeable. I was just there. Let me tell you, it's noticeable. He said soybeans tend to produce more vapor than corn in August. Well, I don't know about all that. I mean, I'm in the middle of August and it was hella hot and humid over there, mm, and the lady at the visitor center was even saying, like, holy crap, this is worse than usual. Like, usually by now it's a little cooler. Mm-mm. The thing that I also worry about, listen to this ominous thing. He said corn does most of its evapotranspiration, the process of drawing water up from the soil, using it for its needs, then releasing it to air in July. Okay. if if the corn is drawing all of the water and minerals up from the soil, doesn't that mean it's contributing to soil degradation, which is one of the leading the leading fears in the world today, that as we degrade our soils, we'll have massive famines? Is it that? I feel like they're related. I'm no chemist, but I want to say that as the water is pulled up from the earth, minerals come with it and you get soil degradation. I have a feeling that that's exactly today. Toady said more study is necessary to understand how climate change will shape corn sweat, saying rainfall, crop variety, and growing methods can all play a part. What do you think? Do you think that we should maybe grow less corn? Think of something else. Maybe we should stop killing all these animals, and we won't have to feed them all this corn. That would make sense. I think so. Asked whether or not whether more corn sweat is an effect of climate change, he simply said, yeah. Yeah, it's a climate change thing. Yes, yes, this is the answer. It shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that it's been getting hotter, and as a result of it getting hotter, plants are losing more water. There you go. There you go, you corny bastard. Look, the world the world is getting sweatier. Of course it is. It's getting sweatier. It's getting sweatier and sweatier. And because the stories that I want to talk about today, let's take a little intermezzo, will we? Let's take a little intermezzo. Don't forget to upvote this amazing guy. Thank you, Johnny Vegan Seed. Thank you. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 2 million subscribers, everybody. We're trying to get to 2 million. Please hit that subscribe button. Thank you for being here, Johnny Vegan Seed. Maybe we should maybe force companies to switch their fleet to electric to drive prices down. That'd be great. But the thing is, it's not transportation, right? It's because if you think about it, what's easier to get rid of? Eating animals or transportation? Like you have to get rid of one. Which one should it be? Because you might be able to get electric cars, but you can't get electric planes yet. We're so far away from electric planes. So, what do you think we're going to do? We put ethanol in electric planes too. And by the way, this is only about 10% of these engines only run at about 10% of ethanol. The rest is, petrochemicals. So, you're screwed. Like, we have to stop feeding animals our crops. Like soil degradation, this corn sweat thing, all of the all of the methane going into the air because of ruminating animals, it's clearly a problem. Not to mention bird flu and another one that's coming up, by the way. But let's not lollygag. Let's not lollygag. Let's get to work, huh? Let's get to work on changing the world. To lollygag is to spend time doing things that are not useful or serious, or in other words, to fool around or waste time. Stop lollygagging and get to work. This is one of my favorite things. I hate lollygagging. Stop lollygagging. Stop lollygagging, you worthless bastard. The player was kicked off the team for lollygagging during practice. You don't lollygag during practice, you dummy. Pete dates all the way back to 1925 in the Disney Alice comedies. He's older than Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, who first appeared in Disney's 1927 Trolley Troubles. And he's older than Mickey Mouse himself, who made his debut in the 28's Steamboat Willie, along with none other than Pete. Back then, however, he was Captain Pete, and a decidedly bad boss to an admittedly shoddy employee, more interested in whistling and lollygagging than swabbing the decks. Pete's that big monstrous looking Disney character. Stop lollygagging. Lollygagging, sometimes spelled lallygag, never seen that, has been used informally to talk about acts of wasting time since at least the mid-19th century. Some might relate to this 1856 quote from the North Californian, "Oh, ye denizens of cooler climes, how we do envy you in these days. Oh, for a lodge on some vast iceberg or a chance to lollygag amid piles of snow." In its earlier days, lollygag could also apply to displays of affection. Back in 1946, one Navy captain considered lollygagging enough of a problem to issue his stern warning: lovemaking and lollygagging are hereby strictly forbidden. The holding of hands is a violation of naval discipline. Whoa, gee whiz. Nowadays, lollygag doesn't usually refer to flirting or cuddling. Instead, it's the dawdle, meaning that gets love. These Navy boys, it's these Navy boys, you gotta keep them, you gotta pass edicts in order, you have to issue edicts in order to get these Navy boys to stop holding hands, stop lollygagging. These Navy boys. This is it's it's so funny that that's like always been this stereotype of the Navy. In the Navy. Mm. I don't know if you remember, the Village People sang a song called YMCA. A big a big favorite of Donald Trump. He loves that song. But that group also played a song called In the Navy. In the Navy, you get looked at by Marines. In the Navy, you can hold hands the seven seas. Something like that. I don't know the words of the song. But lollygagging, lovemaking and lollygagging are strictly forbidden here on this Navy. In the Navy, holding hands. Holding hands is not becoming of a Navy. What to say? The holding of hands is a violation of naval discipline. Oh man. Well, look, I like the fact that our Navy was open and, diverse. They're on those boats for a long time. Sailor Sam might look might look pretty good uh after about a couple days on sea. A couple days on sea, maybe Sailor Sam's looking pretty nice. We need to tackle all the problems at the same time, though. No reason to force companies to switch to electric while at the same stopping animal agriculture subsidies. I'm with you on that vegan power lab, but here's what I'm saying. Here's my rebuttal. If we can't stop treating animals decently, then why should we even deserve to live on this planet with them? Maybe human beings shouldn't make it. Maybe we shouldn't make it. Maybe some virus should kill us off because we can't play nice. If you're in the sandbox throwing sand at the other kids, get the fuck out the sandbox. Get out of the sandbox, little bastard. You know what I mean? You got to get out. You're not welcome in the sandbox anymore. And I know we're like, oh, but if we're all going to survive, we got to switch to electric and all this. Forget about it. If we stopped eating animals, the global climate change goes away. 50% of our corn is going to animal feed. Oh my God. I honestly thought it was higher, but 50% is still quite a bit going to animal feed. It's almost 50. And then it's like 35 to 40% is going to ethanol production, which just is so that we could put it into cars. The rest is going to paper, liquor, booze, and corn chips, and maybe some oils that we eat. I don't know. You're kind of lollygagging. That's okay. You can lollygag. My parents would play In the Navy every morning when I was around 12. Really? I always loved that the Village People were so popular in other countries, and you guys never understood the words when you were little. But it's gay stuff, which is fine. My favorite band when I was in the 7th grade was Queen and Red Hot Chili Peppers. And there was lots of gay stuff in both of those. And I was a big fan. And I loved Queen and I loved Red Hot Chili Peppers when in the 7th grade. And I remember the 7th grade because that was the year that Freddie Mercury died, and Blood Sugar Sex Magic came out. And I remember musically just how important that year was musically for me, and how much I was so into music in the 7th grade. I feel like always loved music. I loved music since maybe the second grade, but in the seventh grade, I was like all and music was my life. I was just extremely. I would sit there next to my boom box because we didn't have MTV at my house, so I had CDs though and tapes. I had one of those things. I had one of those things with two tape players, and then I had another thing with a CD player, and I would just listen and listen and listen and listen and like write down the words so that I could try to figure out what they were saying because the liner notes didn't always have the lyrics. I was obsessed. Yeah, that's a great point. Why do we deserve to be on the same planet as them? I don't think we deserve. If we can't treat them nicely, then we don't deserve to be on the same planet as them, or at least we only deserve to be here in far fewer numbers. So maybe the environment, this big die off, yeah, it'll kill a lot of animals, but it'll kill a lot of us too. Maybe that's not so bad. Maybe that's not so bad. Maybe we don't deserve to make it. Every time I hear about the environment and trying to save the planet is going to be fine. We are going to all die. And what I think will is actually more likely going to happen. We'll have massive die-offs in poor countries, which we're going to talk about in a second. But what's probably going to happen is something similar to what people used to talk about with peak oil. Peak oil used to be something everyone was very afraid of, and some people are still very afraid of peak oil. And peak oil is the idea that it looks like a bell curve, right? So like as technology got better and better and better, we also use more and more oil, and we then it's a finite resource. We've used all the oil, and now we're going to have less and less and less oil. And since we're having less and less and less oil, our technology and everything else will start falling off. Everything went up, everything will go back down, and we'll be back in like the 1860s here pretty soon, or something similar to it. The thing that scares me about that is all of our social progress might go out the window as well as we approach the 1860s. We might go back in time up here as well, but I think that something like that might happen where our technology starts to degrade and degrade and degrade. And maybe we stop throwing away our laptops when they stop working, and we start like repairing our laptops, and we start trying to build, upgrade them instead of just throwing them away and buying a new one. That's just that might sound pretty cool, right? But imagine if everything is old and shitty, and everything just gets older and shittier because we're not able to continue to make these technological advancements and mass produce them anymore. Scary, right? Mm. Yeah. You got the Grand Island, Nebraska postcard today. I'm so happy. If you're not part of our Patreon club, Patreon postcard club is still going strong. I am in Colorado Springs. I'm going to buy postcards today. So if you aren't a Patreon member, please get on Patreon, send me your address. If you are a Patreon member, please get on Patreon, send me your address. Yes, people dance the YMCA without knowing what the YMCA. I know. It's funny. There are still YMCA's in the Midwest where you could sleep there. I've slept at a YMCA. I remember I slept at a YMCA in Berkeley, California when I was like 25. You love Queen and Red Hot Chili Peppers. Solid Peppers in '86. Oh my God, that's when they who was the guy who died? Their original guitar player died, right? Of drug overdose. That was in '86. He was still alive, wasn't he? Yeah. Heaven is a place where animals don't eat each other. I hold on to my belief in Yeshua, Jesus. I believe the devil is real. Well, that's all right. Not throw away a laptop. What the heck? The A key is dirty. What's funny? My L key is a different color than all the others because when I edit, L is fast forward, and so the L key is completely a different color than all the other. And shift and L and M for some reason are completely trashed. All the other keys are fine, but yeah, I still have my laptop. The first laptop I ever bought, I still have. I don't know why. I keep it, thinking I'm going to use it someday in case shit goes. I don't know. I don't know why I keep it. I just keep it. Yeah, watching Christians eat meat is cringe, or blessing their meals with animal flesh. I know. Well, this morning I was having a really hard time concentrating and getting this show organized. I don't, you probably guessed it. Like, I do organize this show. I read a lot for this show. I think a lot for this show. I meditate. I write a lot for this show. And there was this fucking dog right across the hall crying and crying and crying and crying. And this poor animal is just afraid and alone in the hotel across the hallway. And I know that the people whose dog who the people who locked that dog in that hotel room are downstairs eating animal flesh in the lobby for the continental breakfast. And it makes me so mad because they're doubly animal abusers. They're downstairs abusing an animal, and upstairs they're abusing an animal in absentia. And it makes me just I was just, and then I just get there and I'm just stuck in a cycle, right? I'm angry and I'm thinking about the dog, and I'm thinking about why I'm getting all upset. And it was really hard for me to kind of like just organize my shit this morning and read all the stuff I had to read for the show, and do all the things. I'm like trying to meditate, and it's hard when a dog is squealing and crying and just carrying on. And like, this is just an hour show, and so the dog is like an hour and a half just crying and crying and crying. Another reason why animals should not be in hotels. All right. Speaking of animal abuse, all right. So I know a lot of you there's a lot of you don't like mosquitoes, but here's the thing about mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are only as bad as the animals they're around. So what to know about the Oropouche virus? I call it the Oropouche virus. By the way, did you hear that Fauci got West Nile from mosquitoes? It's getting bad, folks. I'm sure that Al Gore is probably shaking his head going, I told you, asshole. I told you this was going to happen with these mosquitoes. Have you ever seen An Inconvenient Truth? He has a whole section about mosquitoes and how, like, places like Nairobi, people are just going to start dying because mosquitoes are going to come up to that level where they didn't before. There are whole cities built in areas that are only built there because they're outside of where the mosquitoes are. And here's a mosquito filling his or her abdomen up with blood of a human, just going right into that capillary. It's so scary, isn't it? I'm not so bad, but they're saying that the Oropouche virus, which I think means golden stomach or something, golden belly virus, the Oropouche virus, also known as sloth fever. Sloths are cute. It doesn't sound so bad when you call it sloth fever, does it? Although sloth is one of the seven deadly sins. But I mean, the animal, the sloth, the oso perezoso, they seem pretty nice, right? None have died. There's no evidence that it spread to the United States, but officials are warning U.S. doctors to be on the lookout for the infection in travelers coming from Cuba and South America. Here's what it looks like. Guess what? You get sick. It's native to forested tropical areas. It's identified in 1955 in a 24-year-old forest worker on the island of Trinidad and was named for the nearby village and wetlands. Oh, Oropouche. All right, so it's called sloth fever because they first found it when they were investigating on sloths. That makes sense. We knew about the sloth thing, right? That was pretty clear, right? The virus is spread to humans by small biting flies called midges and by some types of mosquitoes. All right, so I think we're cool in the midges here in America because I've never seen one, but a mosquito, we got those. Humans have become infected while visiting forested areas and are believed to be responsible for helping the virus make its way to town and cities, but person to person transmission hasn't been documented. Phew. So it's not like bird flu that you can get it from a cow yet. Although, as you can see, one of the related stories here is a bird flu outbreak in the United States and cows. Kind of scary. But the scariest thing is when a human can give it to a human. But check this out. 8,000 locally acquired cases have been reported in Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Cuba, and Peru. That's South America, baby. That's in our hemisphere. It's coming. This ain't some African thing that's all so far away like Mpox. This is at our door. It's coming, baby. There are outbreaks all over in Amazon. Now, any place where you see there's like not the Amazon like there's also a forest called the Amazon, a whole region of the world called Amazon. It's not just like a Jeff Bezos thing. Jeffrey Bezos. Some travelers have been diagnosed with it in US and Europe. So we do have some cases, 21 cases in the United States, 19 cases in America. It's here, baby. Symptoms can be similar to tropical diseases like dengue, Zika, or malaria, fever, headaches, muscle aches, suffer from diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, and rash. Okay, so here's what it comes from birds. All right, there's something that you should know. They get the, the mosquito bites a bird, and then it bites you. Is how it's happening. Okay, that's how it's happening more and more. And since it happens, and there's no vaccines to prevent infections and no medicines available to treat the symptoms, nobody's died yet. Though there are recent reports of deaths of two healthy young people in Brazil. It's rarely fatal. So two people have actually died. Some patients suffer recurring symptoms, and 1 in 20 can suffer more severe symptoms like bleeding, meningitis, and encephalitis. You don't want encephalitis or meningitis, let me tell you. Meningitis, I think, is the worst way imaginable to die. And it's like trichinosis, how they keep on finding listeria, and they keep on finding listeria in the deli meats. And every time I walk by the deli section at the Walmart, I think, who is buying this shit? Who is buying deli meats? Are people just like, they just want listeria? They just want meningitis? All right. But since mosquitoes are here, do you think it's a good idea to take giant groups of birds and put them into small buildings where they've likely already gotten diseases like bird flu? Do you think it's a good idea? Mosquitoes, as it gets hotter and it gets sweatier. The thing that I foresee happening is that as the country heats up, and as the corn continues to sweat and create these giant massive areas of high humidity, this is the breeding ground of mosquitoes who love to bite birds, and you can't keep them out. Everyone's tried through the history of the world. You can't keep mosquitoes out. They're here. You just got to get used to them. But what you can do is try to keep them away from birds. And the way you do that is to create greater distances between birds. Well, if you have a bunch of birds in a building, and I'm talking about chickens, they're all there. They're just a feeding ground for mosquitoes. Just like cows can be literally eaten alive by mosquitoes because they're out there by themselves. They can literally be killed by mosquitoes. It's happened. Mosquitoes suck all their blood out. It's crazy. And then they go and they bite humans. And now you got Zika or Oropouche. And let me tell you, I don't want no sloth fever, and I don't want no Zika virus. Don't want them. I don't want no malaria either. We're probably going to end up with all three here in the United States here right quick. And why? It's because all you bastards lining up at Chick-fil-A, that's really what's causing it. That's what's causing global warming. That's what's causing all these mosquitoes. That's what's going to cause all of these bird flu situations, all of these viruses. It's all because you can't treat animals nicely. That's all it is. Stop enslaving animals, and this all goes away. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. Thanks. Oh, insect repellent is also very effective. For some, it seems like it's effective, but I don't think that there's enough insect repellent to solve this all the time. Plus, you have to have it on all day long. That can't be good for you. Plus, most insect repellent is tested on animals. I don't like that. I don't wear insect repellent, but I'm probably going to die of some Zika virus or something like that. I'm always curious, like, what's going to kill me. I think when I'm finally diagnosed with whatever's going to kill me, probably cancer, right? Cancer kills most. But like, if it's not cancer, I'm going to be really surprised. I'm going to be like, huh, this is what got me? Huh. Huh. Wow. Hmm. That's what's gonna be my last words. This is what got me. That's gonna be what I say. Don't allow standing water like a bowl or something outside because it attracts skeeters at your house. Yes, that's true. That's true. But those mosquitoes probably are not gonna kill you. The ones that are near chicken farms are gonna kill you. And once you can get it from another person, we're all screwed anyway. Once you can get a disease from another person, we're dead. Mm, it's bad news bears, man. Bad news once we get it. Citronella. I think citronella works. Do you think it works? I love citronella candles. I like to burn those little spiral things. Mm, I'm a big fan of marigold too. Marigold works really well against flies and mosquitoes. So I'm a big fan of. You could plant marigolds in your garden, and insects will stay away. Pretty cool. Uh, Removing the gene that carried diseases from mosquitoes is the way to go. Removing the gene that carried diseases from mosquitoes. Removing the gene in us or removing the gene in the mosquitoes? How are we going to do that? I'm going to live forever? I don't think so. I don't think so, my friend. I do not think so. I rebuke your words of deletion, Sky. You will be happy, healthy, and blessed. I pray for you. Thank you. I appreciate that. But when something finally gets me, I'm going to be like, what the hell? Gee, my life's a funny thing. I imagine my incidental death all the time, Sky. I'm walking away from Omaha. I always imagine it's gonna get a laugh, I think. I'm gonna be like, what? This? Unless it's cancer. Like if it's cancer, that's what I probably see happening all the time. I used to think I'd just get hit by a car. I've always thought I'm just gonna end up in a car crash or something stupid. Like dying in a car crash. God damn. Like I tell you, I had an uncle. I had an uncle who made it through Vietnam, was sprayed with Agent Orange. He ended up sterilized because he couldn't have kids because of something that happened in Vietnam. He had some kind of disease, and he saw real action in Vietnam. And then he was like, he was kind of a drunk, and he had some problems and got in a bunch of barroom fights and stuff that should have killed him. And then he ends up a truck driver, which is pretty dangerous. So he's driving across America, and he gets a couple DUIs because he can't stop drinking. And so then he ends up in Idaho doing something I forget. And then he's driving down south, and he's driving down south for whatever reason down to the southern United States, and he stops in Vegas in order to do some gambling because he's a gambling man. And my uncle, on his way to Vegas, um, falls asleep and crashes his car. Not drunk, nothing. Just falls asleep, smashes his car, and dies. Uncle Douglas. And I always was like, that's the dumbest way to die. Like, you just you made it through Vietnam. You made it through all these hardcore things in your life, just trials, tribulations, addiction issues, all of these things. You made it. And then you just drove too far and you fell asleep and died. Man, he didn't even get a funeral. They didn't even, he didn't even, they just, the state just took him, buried him someplace. I guess they just like, I don't know what they put him in a potter's field someplace, and didn't even get a funeral. No one knows what happened to his ashes. Nothing. We just know he died. That seems like a pretty sad way to die. All right, we're almost done, and I did want to talk about just. I'm going to skip veg news. We're not going to talk about veg news today. I want to talk about Kamala's Gen Z problem. The Gen Z problem that Kamala has. Well, Kamala Harris announced her run, and then they're saying like, okay, 83% of whom of the 40,000 people registered to vote on July 21st. So like she announced her run for president, and then 40,000 people registered to vote. Like right then, 83% of those were under 35 years old. That's a huge deal. Okay, NPR correspondent Tamara Keith recently said indicates the kind of enthusiasm they haven't experienced since Obama. But can the Harris campaign harness the energy of what Obama did? Because the thing was, Obama like went hard at the young people. I don't know if you remember, but back that was 2008, and like social media was pretty new, and all of a sudden you got a bunch of Obama ads and it was all over the place. Obama, 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 Obama. Everyone liked him. Back in 2008, unprecedented effort to target young voters during the Democratic primary, organized 175 student chapters in Iowa, which led to a burst of youth participation in the caucuses. Big deal. Inclusive message helped lead him to a landslide victory. That's pretty good, right? The problem is not 2008 anymore. It will be undoubtedly more difficult, partly because like she's only been in the race for a little while, you know what I mean? And they weren't so excited about Joe Biden. No one really, like young people didn't give a shit. I'm not Gen Z and I didn't give a shit. I still don't endorse anybody, and the and I all the views are mine and don't represent those of any group or organization. But a Pew Research Center poll found that less than half of young voters have a favorable view of Harris, and her campaign has far less time than usual to convince them to check the box next to her name. After looking at the data and speaking with Gen Z voters from across the political spectrum, it's clear that time is not the only hurdle she faces. Huh. Young voters share one fundamental attribute. They are irregular voters. They're just starting to develop political interests and priorities that will inform their level of participation. That's it. Okay. They're not even sure if they want to vote. But here's the other thing: they're less connected to either political party. They have a collapse in public trust over the past few decades, and this coincided with the emergence of an ascendant independent streak among young adults. More than half of Gen Zers consider themselves politically independent, a 5 percentage point increase over how millennials identified in 2012. I mean, that makes sense, right? I think of myself as independent, and I'm not even Gen Z. So the people younger than me gotta be more independent than I am. The earnestness that characterized the way young adults view their country in early 2000s has been replaced by the implacable negativity. And this is what I wanted to talk about: the implacable negativity of young people. Of course, they're negative. Only 20%, only 21% of young adults in 2024 said they were extremely proud to be an American, a 34-point drop from 10 years ago. Young adults have also expressed more cynicism about American exceptionalism. It's true. Do you even know what American exceptionalism is? Does that phrase mean anything to you? American exceptionalism? I haven't heard that uttered anywhere outside of like, you know, a podcast in a really long time, because I listen to political podcasts. So like, do you even know what American exceptionalism even is? 70% of people 65 or older said that more countries in the world would be much better off if they adopted American values. So if you're 65%, 70%, if you're 65 years old, 70% of you say that more countries, they'd be better off if they adopted American values. Only 43% of adults under 30 felt the same way. Political cynicism, they've been dealt with beginning at around 2012. They've been fed political cynicism since 2012. Now, this is the lasting effect, I think, of people like Donald Trump. Not just Donald Trump, but people like Donald Trump. People saying, the world is coming to an end, folks. Okay, there's nothing we can do. All you can do is put your faith in me. And maybe, okay. People love the hot weather, don't they, folks? They love the corn sweat, don't they? Yeah. When people are talking like that all the time, that the world is ending and that there's no point in saving your money. You better go out and spend it because you're not going to be here tomorrow. We're all dying. That's what is constantly being fed to them since 2012. Yeah, that makes sense. In 2016 is when Donald Trump won. In 2012 is when he probably started talking about how Barack Obama wasn't born here and that the country doesn't like white people and all of the crap that he used to say about how white people are getting the short end of the stick now because Obama and blah, 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 blah. Now, if you were raised in that, if that's how you were coming into your political awareness, that would affect your brain, man. You wouldn't be able, that's not, you're never going to be like those people like me who remember when it used to be, no, America, we don't torture people. America, we don't do that to others. We don't threaten. We don't call other countries shitholes. We're the country that welcomes immigrants. We are the country for everyone. We're the ones that make a difference in the world. We care about the world. We're going to lead the world in everything to save the world. That used to be what Americans thought. American exceptionalism was the idea that Americans could, that's it, that Americans would innovate, that our ingenuity would guide the rest of the world so that we can find new solutions and new ideas to forge a new future. No one's talking like that anymore. Not since Barack Obama has anyone has talked like that. Now, maybe cynicism's good, right? Or I would say critical thinking is good. Questioning people. Is this a good idea? Is this real? Are you being truthful? I love it when people ask questions like that of their politicians, political leaders. But if you think that America's just shit, why would you bother getting behind a candidate? I mean, some of these statistics make me look in the mirror, and I feel the same way. I don't believe most of what I see anymore. I barely believe the accepted narrative when it comes to what happened to Trump at that rally when that incel tried to shoot him. I don't even know if that was real anymore. I don't even know if maybe this will, I start thinking maybe conspiracy theories, maybe there's something to them. Maybe really it was the plan all along that Biden wanted to be a bridge president, like he said in the beginning back in 2020, and that he waited till after the after the debate to pull the switcheroo. Maybe that was why, in order to avoid a an embarrassing primary. Maybe that's why they did it, and that wasn't the accepted narrative that we all have come to believe is bullshit. It's scary to me that I question all of that. I think it's all a ruse. And young people, they've got to have it worse. If I'm thinking like that, they've got to be thinking worse things. And it's scary to me. And we've got a Gen Z problem. Yeah, we have a Gen Z problem because of the lasting effect of people like Donald Trump telling Americans that America ain't shit, that America sucks, that everything sucks, and that you suck, and that we can't do shit, and the environment stuff isn't real, and that all the other countries suck. Like, that type of negativity, man, it's gonna kill us. It's gonna kill us. Anyway, try to stay positive, would you? I think it's I think it's funny that oh, it's B? It's funny how Trump's attempted murder went by like, oh no, anyway. Yeah. Well, also his ear. I'm a really fast healer. I'm a really fast healer, folks, okay? It can hit my ear. Hit my ear. He didn't have stitches. Like if you got hit with a bullet in the ear, you have to have stitches. And now he's not even wearing a bandage. Like imagine it barely touched him. It unbelievable. It didn't tear off his ear. I thought he'd have like He'd look like Evander Holyfield now, you know? Remember when Evander Holyfield got his ear bitten off by one Mike Tyson? I thought that's what your boy Donald Trump was going to look like. Turns out nothing keeps me positive like seeing those pretty blue eyes, Sky. Aw, thank you, vegan Christian. I haven't checked his ear. How is it? Nothing. Nothing. He's a fast healer. He thinks he's Wolverine. He's a fast healer. It's bullshit, man. It was this is why it's hard to believe. They say that it like nicked him, but we're talking barely touched him. If anything hit him at all. It's it looks like nothing happened. If you get hit by a bullet and you didn't have stitches, did you really get hit by the bullet? I mean, like, seems weird to me. Um, I wanted to just mention very quickly one last thing. Millions are stranded by flooding in Bangladesh. Millions. Many blame their neighbor. Entering the city of Feni in southeast Bangladesh, it becomes clear why it's described as the epicenter of the country's worst flooding in living memory. Yeah, they're blaming the other districts. 1.5 million people are now submerged. The whole city, 1.5 million people are without homes. The rivers and waterways, as people rely heavily on vital life source for fishing and farming rice paddies. Stop fishing. Stop fishing. The country is also well acquainted with flooding and cyclones. Yeah. The people blame officials in India. We hate India. This is Indian water. Dozens of people in Feni, which is only a few miles away from the India border, accused New Delhi of releasing water from the Dumbur Dam in neighboring Tripura with no warning. They opened the gate, but no information was given. An IT worker who returned to his hometown from the capital Dhaka to volunteer in rescue efforts. India denied the dam release was deliberate and said excessive rain was a factor, although it conceded that a power outage and communications breakdown meant they failed to issue the usual warning to neighbors downstream. India uses water as a weapon. India is taking revenge for destroying the last government. It's really wild. If this is true, it's scary. I don't know if they're alive. Is something that you're hearing all the time. I don't know if they're alive. They're talking about their families. People in Bangladesh at the bottom of a lake. It's sad and it's depressing. So don't say it's don't say it's staged. I didn't say it was staged. I'm saying that I have questions. Bro Trump is on his SpongeBob arc. I saw his reaction. It looked fake AF. Every time I look into it, I believe it was staged more and more. He's an axolotl. He's a fighter. He can still hear perfectly too. Yeah, he's a fighter. Well, I don't know. He can't speak perfectly. He still talks like Daffy Duck. I don't know what's going on with this guy's voice, but he's like, "Fluffer and succotash. Joe Biden, he's the worst president ever." He's like, he can't speak anymore. Something's going on with him, and it's not right. Anyway, Bangladesh. I thought that was just pretty sad. It's National Thoughtful Day. It's National Red Wine Day. Every type of drink has to have a day for some reason. It's National Bow Tie Day. It's National Bridge Remembrance Day. I don't know why you got to remember the bridges, but it's actually National Power Day. Power Rangers Day. Get your Megazords out. Who's a Power Ranger? Let's see. How do you do it? Almost. That's it. It's National Power Rangers Day, everybody. Never had one lesson with my stylophone. There you go. It's National Power Rangers Day, and I hope that you and your Megazords, I hope all of you Megazords are doing okay. It's morphin' time, and I hope you have a good time fighting. What was her name? Rita? I think her name was Rita. I don't know. I never. I was pretty. I was a little too old for Power Rangers. Power Rangers was getting really popular, and I was just a little too old. Although I did think the Pink Ranger was hot, and I thought the Yellow Ranger. I thought the Yellow and Pink Rangers were pretty hot, but I was just a little too old. I think I was like 15 or something when Power Rangers were starting to get really popular. So I kind of I remember them being on TV and I watched them sometimes, but I was a little too old for them. Yeah. Go, go, Power Rangers. I remember there was a hard rock version of the song that sometimes would play on my school bus because it was that year before I had a car. So I was still riding the bus to school. And sometimes it would play beep, 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 beep. Trump is extremely offensive towards many people. Yes. Yes, he is. He's racist and makes fun of disabled people. But again, I don't endorse anybody. I don't endorse anybody. But I do like the Megazords. Let me see. Something like that. He flies around in that plane too. He does fly around in that plane. He flies around the Jeffrey Epstein plane. It's weird. Um, Plastic eating fungi is said that it might tackle plastic pollution in all over the world. They want to add fungi to the water to eat all the plastic that we've been producing. There are also plastic eating worms that might work. We got to use animals, you see, but I think fungi that can thrive off certain plastic polymers. Wouldn't it be funny if we introduced all of this fungi to the plastic and that's what killed us all? I mean, I think that would be an interesting thing. We'd start having fungi in our balls because our balls are filled with plastic too. Have you heard that testicles are filled with plastic these days? Yeah, look it up. It's a whole thing. Well, who knows? You want fungi in your testicles because if the fungi gets out of control, that's where it's going to end up. Promise you that. Promise you that. There you go. Plant-based news says that we got a fun guy who's going to go and eat all of our plastic. That's probably going to be fine. It's probably going to be fine. I hope that I do not live to see the day when the fungi gets into our bodies. It's gonna be like that Doctor Who episode where the aliens come to Earth and they start attacking humans because the humans have plastic in their bodies. Yeah, that's gonna be it's gonna be like that, except it's not an alien. It's a fungal outbreak that we encouraged in order to clean up our oceans because we couldn't stop putting plastic into the oceans. So there you go. Yeah, it's a zombie fungus. It's a zombie fungus that's going to eat plastic in your nards. The Wolfman has nards and they're filled with plastic. Look out. In history today, um, crap, I don't know why this is the 28th. In history today, it is the Third Crusade. Crusaders begin the siege of the Acre under Guy of Lusignan. Look at this. The horse race against a train. They took a horse and raced the horse against a train because they were a bunch of assholes. The first American-built locomotive, Tom Thumb, races a horse-drawn car from Stockton and Stokes Stagecoach Company from Baltimore to Ellicott Mills. Let history's records show that due to mechanical problems, the horse won. Yes, the horse won, but let's face it, the horse lost because the horse probably had his throat slit at some point. People probably ate that horse. People do horrible things to horses. Yes, Scientific American publishes first issue. Martin Luther King Jr. just delivers his "I Had a Dream" speech, and it only took I don't know 75 years or so. What year did it happen? 1963. So yeah, 61 years later, Donald Trump said, "I had bigger."
I had bigger crowds than even Martin Luther King Jr. had. I had bigger crowds than he had.
Don't compare yourself to Martin Luther King in a way that don't compare. If you want to compare yourself to Martin Luther King Jr., say that you were very inspired by Martin Luther King Jr. Don't say I am better than Martin Luther King. Don't say that. Okay? You stupid fool.
Yeah, I'm better than Martin Luther King Jr. I'm better than him.
Yeah, he marched on Washington for Jobs and Freedom Civil Rights March at Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., and delivered his I Have a Dream speech. I have a dream that what is it? I have a dream that my children will be judged by the strength of their character, by the content of their character, and not by the color of their skin. Martin Luther King Jr. Judge people by the judge trees by the fruit they bear, not by the color of their skin. It's good. Bob Dylan is booed off stage today for playing an electric guitar. I always love that fact that he was a musician. He got booed off a stage because he was playing an electric guitar. Well, he didn't leave stage because he's a badass, but yeah, he did that. So listen to Bob Dylan today. Tangled Up in Blue. That's my favorite. My favorite song by Bob Dylan is Tangled Up in Blue. What's your favorite one? Leave it in the comments. 10 suffragists are arrested as they picket the White House. And for birthdays today, we have Jack Kirby, the real genius behind all of that. They always show this one picture of him where he looks like he's like, what do you say? What do you say? Why are you looking at me? I invented Wolverine. Um, Jack Kirby, of course, invented Fantastic Four. He was a close collaborator with Stan Lee, and they worked together. A lot of people think that he was the real genius behind that duo who invented all the Marvel characters. But Jack Kirby, it's his birthday today. It's also Wolfgang von Goethe's birthday. You probably love Goethe. If you're like me, you love Goethe. He wrote Faustus and he wrote Werner, all these really cool. He was pretty. This Sturm und Drang, Wolfgang von Goethe, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. It's his birthday today, and that's pretty cool, right? Celebrity. You also have Shania Twain, Damn, I Feel Like a Woman. David Fincher, the director of Fight Club. Everyone loves that. I mean, you might be straight, but if you see Fight Club, you might get a little tingly down below. Scott Hamilton, Leanne Rimes, She Can't Fight the Moonlight. Bunch of people who aren't worthy of getting a happy birthday. But it was also famously Emmett Till was killed today. Emmett Till, of course, was hanged and dragged. First, he was dragged behind a truck and killed. The brutality of his death was something that made everyone wake up to what was going on in the South. Of course, Emmett Till was his his mother demanded that he have an open casket funeral so that Jet magazine and others could take pictures. Most magazines wouldn't publish the photographs, but Jet magazine did. And because of that, people all over America saw what had been done. People who could no longer close their eyes to what was happening in the southern United States and demanded action from the federal government. Why a young man, a young boy, he was like 14 or something, killed because someone said that he whistled at a white woman. And you might say, wait a second, isn't that welfarist? Aren't you talking about the cruelty of one person? Yeah, I am talking about the cruelty that was inflicted upon one person, but that cruelty woke up a nation. The story of Emmett Till is something that should inspire us, something that why we should spotlight the horrific things that are done to others in the name of whatever, in the name of supremacy. If you think that it's okay to hurt others because you decided to, um, well, sic semper tyrannis. We need to stop you. And the fact that pointing out what happened to him in that open casket funeral, so that everyone could see what had been done to poor Emmett Till was change the fate of our nation. I think that I hate to say that when we point out what happens to animals and we say, look at how cruel this is, that's not welfare, is to say, look how cruel this is. It's supposed to wake you up and say something has to change. Like what happened with Emmett Till. We need to wake people up by showing them the horrific things that they're complicit in. And I hope you have a better day than Emmett Till, who died today in 1955. Doesn't seem that long ago, does it? It's only 70 years ago. All right, that's it. That's the end of the story. I have an autobiography of Goethe. That sounds nice. I like Goethe. I knew you liked Goethe. See, I knew it. You finished watching Nice Guy and saw the live happening? Jonesy LaFay, welcome. I'm going to see you tonight for dinner, I hope. We're going to have dinner tonight, right? We're still on, right? I think today is Wednesday. Aren't we on for dinner? All right, so that's the show. Normally we end the show with a poem, and the poem today is a famous one by T.S. Eliot. It's funny because T.S. Eliot's birthday or death day was recently, and we talked a little bit about T.S. Eliot. And well, T.S. Eliot wrote this famous poem that is in poetry circles. Everyone knows this one. It's the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. Maybe you know it. Maybe you know J. Alfred Prufrock. It opens because T.S. Eliot's kind of a dick. He puts a lot of things like Latin in the beginning of his poem, so we got to get through that first. But the poem, it's super famous, and I hope that you enjoy it. Here we go. The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. S'io credesse che mia riposta fosse a persona che mai tornasse al mondo, che sta fiamma staria senza più scosse, ma perioce giammai di questo fondo non torno vivo alcun sì o do il vero, senza trema di infamia ti rispondo. I want to say that's more Italian than whatever. We're going to keep going. Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky like a patient etherized upon a table. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. Streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent to lead you to an overwhelming question. Oh, do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. In the room, the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. The yellow fog that rubs its back upon the window panes, the yellow smoke that rubs its muzzle on the window panes, licked its tongue into the corners of the evening, lingered upon the pools that stand in drains, let fall upon its back the soot that falls from chimneys, slipped by the terrace, made a sudden leap, and seeing that it was so soft October night, curled once about the house and fell asleep. And indeed, there will be time for the yellow smoke that slides along the street, rubbing its black upon the window panes. There will be time to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. There will be time to murder and create. Then time for all the works and days of hands that lift and drop a question on your plate. Time for you and time for me. And time yet for 100 indecisions, and for 100 visions and revisions before taking of a toast and tea. In the room, the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. And indeed, there will be time. No wonder. Do I dare and do I dare? Time to turn back and descend the stair with the bald spot in the middle of my hair. They will say, how his hair is growing thin. My morning coat, my collar mounting firmly to the chin. My necktie rich and modest, but asserted by a simple pin. They will say, but how his arms and legs are thin. Do I dare disturb the universe? In a minute there is time for decisions and revisions. which a minute will reverse. For I have known them already, known them all, have known the evenings, mornings, afternoons. I have measured out my life with coffee spoons. I know the voices dying with the dying fall, beneath the music from a farther room. So how should I presume? And I have known the eyes already, known them all, the eyes that fix you in the formulated phrase. And when I am formulated, sprawling on a pin, when I am pinned and wriggling on the wall, and how should I begin to spit out all the butt ends of my days and ways? And how should I presume? And and I have known the arms already, known them all, arms that are braceleted and white and bare, but in the lamplight down with light brown hair. Is it perfume from a dress that makes me so digress? Arms that lie along a table or wrap about a shawl, and should I then presume, and how should I begin? Shall I say I have gone at dusk through narrow streets and watched the smoke that rises from the pipes of lonely men in shirt sleeves leaning out of windows? I should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent seas. And the afternoon, the evening sleeps so peacefully, smoothed by long fingers, asleep, tired, or it malingers, stretched on the floor here beside you and me. Should I, after tea and cakes and ices, have the strength to force the moments to its crisis? But though I have wept and fasted, wept and prayed, though I have seen my head grown slightly bald, brought in upon a platter, I am no prophet, and hear no great matter. I have seen the moment of my greatness flicker, and I have seen the eternal the footmen hold my coat and snicker, and in short, I was afraid. And would it have been worth it, after all, after the cups, the marmalade, the tea, among the porcelain, among some talk of you and me? Would it have been worthwhile to have bitten off the matter with a smile, to have squeezed the universe into a ball, to roll it towards some overwhelming question, to say, I am Lazarus come from the dead, come back to tell you all, I shall tell you all, if one settling a pillow by her head should say, that is not what I meant at all, that is not it at all? And would it have been worth it after all? Would it have been worthwhile? After the sunsets and the dooryards and the sprinkled streets, after the novels, after the teacups, after the skirts that trail along the floor, and this and so much more, it is impossible to say just what I mean. But as if a magic lantern threw the nerves in patterns on a screen, would it have been worthwhile if one settling a pillow or throwing off a shawl and turning toward the window should say, that is not it at all. That is not what I meant at all. No, I am not Prince Hamlet, nor was I meant to be. I am an attendant lord, one that will do to swell a progress, start a scene or two, advise the prince, no doubt an easy tool, deferential, glad to be of use, politic, cautious, and meticulous, full of high sentient sentence, but a bit obtuse, at times indeed almost ridiculous, almost at times the fool. I grow old, I grow old. I shall wear the bottoms of my trousers rolled. Shall I part my hair behind? Do I dare eat a peach? I shall wear white flannel trousers and walk upon the beach. I have heard the mermaids singing each to each. I do not think that they will sing to me. I have seen them riding seaward on the waves, combing the white hair of the waves blown back when the wind blows the water white and black. We have lingered in the chambers of the sea by sea girls wreathed with seaweed red and brown till human voices wake us and we drown. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you so much. My phone is ringing now. I hope that you like the poem. Goodbye.
Sunrise on the horizon. Sky is blue, no denying. News with Skyjack Morgan. bright and early new dawn. Every headline, every story, gives your morning some glory. Stay informed, stay tuned as the day greets new blue. Good morning headlines with Sky Jack Morgan. Start your day just fine. Information for you, darling. With coffee in your cup, used to fill you right up. Cleansing weather on the go. Morning shows you need to know. Join us on this daily ride with your morning side by side. Catch the latest, feel the vibe. Sky will keep you well supplied. Good morning headlines with Sky Jack Morgan. Start your day just fine. Information for you, darling.
All right, everybody. Well, I hope that you had a good time. I hope you like J Alfred Prufrock. I know it's a long poem, but it's probably one of the longer ones we've read on the show. And but it was the poem of the day, so how could I say no? Thanks for joining me, everybody. Bye. Illegitimate non-carborundum. Don't let the bastards grind you down.